For those of you who grinded hard in your 20s, how did it pay off? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Startup didn't pan out, never made my millions, now divorced after not putting that energy into my relationship instead. Don't hate the hustle, but diversify your efforts. All the people I know who actually became incredibly wealthy were born incredibly privileged with a safety net the size of Texas. One friend had both of his first two companies go bankrupt. His Phil sold off part of his farm and gave him $800,000. His own father liquidated his retirement accounts to invest $400,000 into his second business venture. Both the father and Phil and countless other investors lost every cent they gave him. Last time I saw this friend, he was living in the basement of his father's farmhouse because he sold his own home, which his parents had helped him buy, to fund his third business venture. That one was finally successful, and now my friend is worth over $100 million sillion. Too long, didn't read. Not everyone gets the opportunity to piss away millions of dollars of other people's money before finally being successful. Story 2. I'd say now that I'm mid-30 with a kid and family, the only regret I had was not going on more adventures in my 20s. I often used to tell our new hires that they should spend more of their money and go out more often. Very counterintuitive to almost everyone else's advice. But we worked in finance, the hours were grueling, the pay was good, and I'd see these kids that were fresh out of college eating only cereal for every meal and staying late at the office with nothing to do to get free overtime meals. So many of them were shockingly thrifty. I'd have to remind them that they're only young once, live in one of the greatest cities in the world, NYC, and make over $100,000. They should be going to nice dinners, experiencing the city, and taking the occasional vacation. Also, I'd remind them that the pay scales quickly in our industry, so the money they save today sacrificing their youth would be pennies on the dollar to what they'd be earning in 10 years, and their older self will have. Wish their younger self had gone out a bit more while they had the opportunity. Story 3. Got me enough money to afford a down payment on a house just before the boom. Yep, we bought our house in 2018. We thought things were crazy back then, but boy were we wrong. Back then, you pretty much had to put an offer on the house after viewing it because there was a good shot that 5 other offers would come in that day. It was like the wild, wild west. You want an inspection? Ha, good luck with that. The house will already be sold by then. Luckily, we found a new construction house we liked just 15 minutes out of town we liked. Nice neighborhood with sidewalks. House was $250,000. We've been here 6 years and now houses are selling close to $400,000 around our neighborhood. I most likely couldn't afford to live here if I was looking at a house in this same spot now. I probably could, but my mortgage would be $1,500 or so more. Now we are kind of trapped. Why move with such a good rate and mortgage? Story 4. Worked off to get a PhD. Triggered a brutal autoimmune disease literally a month after my defense from all the stress, and it completely controls my life now. Wish I had enjoyed my 20 more instead. That sucks. Had something similar happen. Got an MSc in a demanding field. A year in, had emergency surgery for some issues that wrecked my body. Now I have chronic pain issues and can't work in my field anymore, so all that time for the degree and MSc was for nothing. I'm basically stuck at desk jobs and dealing with constant pain nowadays, wishing I would have traveled more beforehand. Story 5. More freedom and financial stability. Pretty much this. I used all my young energy and ample free time to work hard and build a career for myself. I tried so many different jobs, it helped me find what I like. Now I'm in my 32nd with a wife and kid. I'm just coasting and focusing all my time and effort on them. I make good money, own my house, and have a very secure job. Life was hard in my 22nd, but now I'm set up for the rest of my life. Story 6. 34 male here, single. 0 debts. I have accident and health insurance and a sizable investment in the stock market, 2-time deposits. My savings are equivalent to 20 months of my average income. I'm a freelancer, so I don't have a stable monthly salary, but when a client suddenly ghosts, I don't really break into a sweat as I used to 10 years ago. It also helps that I live in Sesia, where $1 can buy me a cheap but filling home-cooked meal. Story 7. Huge regret. My mental health took a back seat and now I'm paying hard for it. I worked 12 hours a day, worked weekends, worked vacations, took on more work to prove myself, did a bunch of school as well. This went on for many, many years. I burned out last year and my mental health has taken a huge dive. My regret isn't the success and money. My regret is thinking that the success and money would make me happy. It did not, and all on that grueling work contributed to my mental health decline. If I could change anything, it would be to enjoy life in the moment and to take care of myself from the beginning. Story 8. I missed the college experience and went straight to work at 17. Worked my way up to management and married at 23. By 27, the owner of my company told me he wanted to make me CEO one day and offered to pay 1/2 of my tuition to go to college. I went back and completed my undergrad in a little over 5 years while working 50 to 60 HRS WK and even adopted a little girl, becoming a father in the middle of it. Eventually, I became a CEO by cashing in my retirement savings during COVID to buy a small business. I'm in my 4th year and we've grown 400%, and I'm looking at a business that I'll sell and retire from within 10 years. I've lived, traveled, partied, had a great marriage to the girl I married at 23, an awesome daughter, and worked my brains out. I don't regret it one bit. Story 9. Worked great. Spent my 20 seconds studying like a bear. I got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD. Then I went to management consulting. Built a great foundation and now have lots of life flexibility and relative financial freedom, and the satisfaction that I earned what I have today. The power of education, coupled with super hard work, can't be beat. Oh, and a supportive family, spouse. That makes a huge difference, and I feel lucky I was able to put time into school. Others don't have that luxury. And I should add also other good luck along the way. Though, I believe we make some of our luck. Lots of shots on goal help with the right time, right place equation. Story 10. In short, it didn't. My family didn't have money to help with school, and I was taught debt is bad, so I enlisted in the Navy nuclear program. After getting out, I started my own small business with a $2,500 vending machine, and over the next decade committed to growing the business, never going out partying or wasting money. I finally crossed over $100,000 take-home pay, so was ready to use my VA home loan. That was 2021. Lost out every time to cash offers waiving inspections. Friends that seemingly went nowhere and just skated through life make substantially less than me, but have significantly more assets because they said screw it and bought that $75,000 house that it would cost me $400,000 to buy from. Them because I wanted to follow the correct, responsible order in life. Story 11. My startup did work out. I worked hard, spent lots of hours at the office, bought myself consolation prizes like video games that I never had time to play, so they sat on my kitchen table still in their cellophane wrap. The company went public and I made $1 million in stock, and I was burned out by age 30. I had a nice house built, with plenty of space for friends to come visit. But my friends were either too busy burning themselves out in tech jobs, or else they resented me for having a lot of money. There was no one I could spend time with. I quit my job and lived in a deep depression for a couple of years, spending my money until it ran out, and I had to get a job to keep up with the mortgage. I've had to work my way up from the bottom. My jobs since I re-entered the workforce haven't been kind to me, and I don't get any consolation prizes for once having had a lot of money. I'm burning myself out again at work, but this time I'm trying to figure out how to make my job stop defining me and to put a higher priority on having a creative life outside of work. Story 12. When I was young, I was very... Now, after a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice, I am no longer young. I'm very grateful that I climbed out by my mid-30s with a little youth to spare. I was born in relative poverty. My dad was supporting 6 kids scarcely above minimum wage. For Christmas one year, all they could give was second-hand stuffed animals and oranges, plus some basics like socks. I dropped out of high school and worked odd labor jobs until I was 25, scraping by with just enough for rent and cheap food. But nothing in savings and always anxious about the next bill. At 26, I learned from a professor friend there was a chance of being accepted into a master's program at his school if I passed the GRE like the SAT, but for grad school above the 85th percentile and jumped through some hoops. I spent 6 months studying, passed, and was accepted. 4 years later, I walked out with a master's degree and into a dream job making $70,000. 10 years later, at age 39, I make about $130,000. The only debt I have is a low-interest payment on a minivan, because marriage and kids happened. So, as I said, I'm extremely grateful that a school took a chance on a dropout, as well as for the circumstance of an available job. And I am actively trying to pull others up as I was. Every year, I write numerous reference letters for people seeking education or jobs. And in my free time, I mentor people in my community to escape the cycle of poverty by a combination of social assistance and hard work. Story 13. In my 20s, I worked like an ox, 16 hours a day, every single day, no days off. I swapped from server, bartender, and kitchen assistant. I remember my feet completely ruined and no insurance to see a doctor. My teeth getting cavities, only going to the dentist when it was unbearable. Always barely having enough to make rent. Despite all that, I remember those days fondly. Drinking every night and going to work at 6 a.m. the way only a 20 can. Hooking up with the craziest girls and having my heart broken by the sweetest ones. There's just something about being bottom of the barrel that makes you burn so bright. I'm in my 30s now. I make 6 figures, have a house with mortgage paid off, and a beautiful wife and son. I wouldn't change them for the world. I daydream sometimes about how the current me would do in the dating scene, since younger, poorer me did quite all right for himself. And I like to imagine I would own this town, haha. But himself realized enough to know this is BS. I'm not nearly as fit or virile anymore. If I sleep less than 6 hours, I wake up and my back hurts, loud places annoy me, etc. My point is, don't get hung up on an idealized life that likely would never work out anyway. Also, to answer the op, it meant nothing. All my grinding in my 20 seconds proved to be worthless, and I just got lucky. Story 14. Worked for a big tech company from 20 to 30 to 1986 to 1996. At 30, I was told by HR that I couldn't carry any more vacation as I hadn't taken one in 7 years. I asked them if they'd just buy it from me and we'd call it even. Nope. They suggested I take off 1 day a week for the rest of my life basically, but be on email and phone during that day. I asked if they'd pay for my vacation if I quit. Yes. I quit that instant. Got the whole but. Gave them 2 weeks. 17 days later, I was in a raft at the base of Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, looking forward to running Rapid number 5. Highly recommend that, by the way. Spent 3 months in Zimbabwe, mostly guiding sunburned tourists down the Zambezi. If you're going to Africa, stay a while. Didn't work for the next 2 years. Traveled. Denmark, Greece, Turkey, UK. Drove to Dead Horse, Alaska. Look it up. Kinda got all the things that I'd be putting off in terms of travel done. Guided 15 trips down the Grand Canyon as the qualified boatman for private trips. I highly recommend that, by the way. Started a company in year 3 and bought some farmland as a hobby. Haven't had a W-2 paycheck in 25 years. Own 450 acres of farmland now. Grew the farm in conjunction with operating the business. I guess it worked out okay. Story 15. Spent my late teens and all of my 20s working for my dad's maintenance company. Started just as we took on a nationwide contract covering 24-hour reactive and planned maintenance for a large chain across the UK as their main contractor. Pros: good money, not just in wages, but company earnings, which has allowed me to invest into multiple rental properties and a few other businesses. Mortgage on my own property paid without issue. I'm nowhere near rich, but money certainly isn't a stressing factor in my life, and I'm able to earn a decent passive income, meaning I can now pick and choose my work. Cons: I missed so much of life in general. From gigs, parties, hanging with friends to dinner with family, etc. You name it, I missed it. Even when I was there, I was always on the phone, checking emails, messages, etc. Stress was through the roof. The people we worked for were not concerned about a life-work balance. They called and wanted you now, not your employees, but you. If a branch couldn't open at 8 a.m. when due, it's you they scream at. I worked multiple 24-hour shifts on site to ensure things were up and running, just to be told it wasn't good enough that someone found dirt in the back of the house sink. I have a lot to be thankful for due to the work, but part of me regrets choosing it over enjoying life. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.